Hello and welcome to the 1218 show. My name is Mike Wilson. I am your host, and I'm very excited this week because it's my first guest. So this is Aaron Brady. He was my longtime roommate. We lived together in New York City for approximately 8 years, and then he decided to get married and go have kids and do the adult thing. Left me hanging, but we had a lot of fun over those years, and so I wanted to bring him as my first guest, obviously, because I love him. He's a very, very dear friend of mine, and we had a lot of fun experiences together because it was in our mid-20s and early 30s that we lived together. So we have quite a few crazy stories about that. But he's also got a really interesting personal story when it comes to his career. He's written and produced 3 of his own records, as well as co-wrote and produced a record for a female artist. She did a country record. All of this was in a previous life, quote unquote, because he's, like I said, done the family thing now. But I want to talk about it for a couple of reasons. A, it's just a great story. B, things are done differently now. It's a lot easier to become an independent artist now than it once was with the technology and streaming services and SoundCloud and things like that. And Aaron did it the old school way. He built a recording studio in the apartment. He put in all the work, did all the music himself. Maybe had a friend or two from time to time do some other instrumental stuff because he couldn't play every instrument under the sun, though he's close. And then he would, put together a record, get a photo together for the cover, get thousands of CDs pressed and released, and then did a van tour across the country. Like this, it's an interesting story. So that's where we are. So welcome, Aaron. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is a huge honor that I'm number one.
Number one, baby. This is the good stuff. So let's. I want to start kind of at the beginning. So I kind of want to. We have different. Everybody's story of how things unfold always comes from their own perspective. Yeah. So in a nutshell, I had recently moved to New York, and I got a job working at a restaurant through a mutual friend of ours. And it was called Cafe Untitled. I was in Times Square, and Aaron was already working there. You were already there when I came.
Honestly, I don't know.
It was right. We were
because we didn't meet each other right away. We were working there for a while before we ended up.
I guess that's right. Yeah.
Really talking.
Yeah. So we talked. So we met there, and it was a different world then, and a lot of different things, and we just got to talking about music, and he was the aggressor when it came to. He's like, well, if you want to do something, let's do it. He was all about working on projects 24/7. Let's go. So he was working on his own stuff at the time, and I had an idea for this goofy song that everybody loved, even though it was goofy, but it was great.
Fun, man.
And so we got together and recorded this song, and then one thing led to another. We got an apartment together on the Upper East Side because his apartment was literally it was a closet, and I was living in Brooklyn, and my roommate at the time was moving in with her boyfriend, so. We decided when we found it was a small apartment as well. We built it out. We had, our beds were in lofts, and we kind of did some construction in it. But
I can't believe how much of it is just was ad hoc. Like we didn't plan any of it. Like it all just happened. And with the amount of money we put into all this, like zero money. Yeah. Like how did we even live? Yeah. Like, I don't even know how we even lived. It was crazy.
It is crazy. That was fun. So we met. So I guess let's start there. So we were both at Untitled, and we were both waiters. We were waiting tables. And
do you even remember the first time you talked to me?
I don't. Do you?
No clue. Yeah, no clue. Like I remember, we used to do these. I don't know. Like we talk in the kitchen, like right behind the doors.
Yeah.
And that's where you kind of have your time to talk smack about customers, talk smack about the other workers, stuff like that. And I remember there was a particular waiter, bartender she was really, that was taking an interest in me. And that's the first time I remember talking to you because I was saying something about her and you were like, that's not at all what she's like. And being naive, I was super naive. And you weren't as naive for sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess we're all naive in a way at that age, but you were telling me how it actually was, and I was like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of feel like when I first moved here, I was, I came in chest puffed. I was all arrogant and shit. And I feel like my first encounters with people, especially in that first year or so, I probably got a lot of eye rolls behind my back. People were just, oh, this guy, I mean, his stories.
Well, everybody who comes to New York knows what the world is.
Right.
Like, they have a really clear perspective on the world, and anybody that counters it, you're like, whatever. Right. You don't know what you're talking about. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So it's probably I was probably giving you some unheeded or unwelcome women advice based on all my experience.
No, but I think it was actually quite good.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say anything turned out well. Right. I think it all went like horribly wrong, but it was like the whole thing about moving to New York for me was a process of revealing, because I had a very conservative Christian view on the world, and that is a very narrow, very specific view of the world.
Right.
And I would say not entirely accurate. In fact, maybe not at all accurate. So that whole process for me, like, I was still super naive at that point. I wasn't physical with people yet. Yeah. Like, I was still figuring myself out. I mean, relationship-wise, like, so I was like that kid who didn't kiss anybody. Right. Like, I wasn't going to kiss anybody till I got married. Right. Like, that was the plan. Yeah. Like, this is the worst plan. Right. Like, all it does is it stunts your growth. Like, you don't get an opportunity to open up emotionally, physically. Like, it was just dumb. That's funny. I said some dumbass thing, and you were just like, what? And you're like, that is not how it is.
That's funny. That's great.
And it didn't put me off at all. I always thought of you as like the super jock, which wasn't at all true either. No. Because you're like musical theater guy, and like, so.
And the truth is, all of my friends, especially then, I mean, I'm still friends with all of them, but my close circle back then, they all were, like, I was probably the smallest and least athletic
which is crazy
of that crew, because I wasn't not athletic. I mean, I was, but these guys were all...
You're 5'11", right? So you're almost 6 foot. I'm 5'9", so not at all like a tall guy by any stretch. And, you've got a very imposing physical presence. So that's the first thing that I noticed. Yeah. And we all wore tuxedos to work.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not like you got any personal style from anybody. Right. We all had the exact same outfit.
That's right, apron.
The only clues you had to who somebody might be was their build and the way they carried themselves.
Yeah.
And it was very egalitarian in that way. Yeah. So you kind of shed your preconceptions that might be better informed, and just went straight for the lizard brain stuff where you're like, okay, this guy is huge and walks with a lot of confidence. Yeah. Obviously, he's a jock. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, that's funny. That's great. Yeah, gosh. It is, yeah, man. That was a great time.
Most people were either actors, musicians.
Yeah, or models. Yeah, we had a couple of friends that were models and dancers. We had
right, and those. Okay, so I have this whole hierarchy that I know I've brought up to you before. So I think at the very bottom of the rung, models.
So are you talking about as far as entertainment levels?
Yes.
Okay.
Because a model can't do anything for themselves. Like, they either look the part or they don't look the part.
Right.
And then a little bit above that, actor.
Right.
Because they can do more with their skills to hone them, like to become a great actor or not a great actor, and that can kind of widen out what parts they might be acceptable for.
Right.
But it's not at the base level where they're either right or they're not right. Right. So you've got actor, and then on top of that you have musician. Now the reason I think musician is above is because a musician often writes their own stuff. They don't have to, but they get to at least curate their own stuff. They're not cast. They're the ones that do the casting.
Right.
They curate the catalog for themselves.
Well,
more or
there's
less.
two levels of musician. There's like a studio musician,
for
or like
sure.
a Broadway musician, where they do have to audition and get cast.
For sure.
As opposed to somebody that's in India.
But they still have the right of a refusal.
Right. That's true.
And an actor does have that to a certain extent, but musicians definitely have a lot more control over their path.
Right.
Then above that, comedian. And that's what you headed for. And the reason comedian is the most has the most power in the stack is that they write their own material, they perform their own material, and they are their material.
Yeah.
There is nobody else saying anything about what goes into their routine. Yeah. There is a little bit of a social thing. Now, that's the whole crowd that you ran with. So you you did the comedy thing. You knew a lot of touring comedians. You got to meet a lot of the greats actually.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate in who I've met and come across over just the comedian run stuff.
But
yeah.
How many comedians did we have at the restaurant? 0.
Yeah. Actually, we were working
Just
there.
you.
Well, we were working there when I did my first open mic. It was after one of my shifts.
Yeah.
It was January of '01.
Yeah.
I have it on tape somewhere. January of '01, I did my very first open mic. It was at a place called Hamburger Harry's, which is just a block away from us.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not
I went
kidding.
over there. Yeah. And and then a couple of our friends that from there. I have videos of theirs too because they decided, oh, Mike did it, I'm gonna go do it. So she's out in California now. I told her I'd give her send her a copy of the.
If anyone is a natural comedian, I kind of think of her as a natural comedian because she's such a force.
Yeah.
Like she has not just a specific view on the world, but like she brings people along with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
she doesn't budge.
a leader.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So let's, just so you guys know, we could probably carry this podcast for 10 hours because Aaron
100%.
and I have, and we could just talk and go into every direction. And through the years that we lived together, we talked about everything. I mean, from religion to politics, all the basics, and then into just the deepest thoughts on. I don't know, the cosmos, you name it. We've had the discussion. So, Aaron's probably going to be rather recurring. I'm going to have him on a couple times a year if we can make it work, because this is great. But I want to go to when I met you. You had already done just the one album, and that, if I recall, was just a Christian album, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you were working on the second one, which was A.B.
Correct. Which I didn't know what it was going to be called yet.
Okay.
So I had done, I think, 2 songs by then. I hadn't recorded them or anything, but I had written them. I knew they were going to go on the record.
Right.
And you and I had done the one Spring Break Millennium 1 song,
right,
which was, I thought, pretty successful. Now, we didn't end up getting it cut or, licensed or anything, but we made a good go at it. We had, I forgot her name, but she planted it at MTV to try to get it into one of the MTV Spring Break deals.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I sent it to Carson Daly. I thought
you sent it to?
Well,
that's nice.
I sent him the CD of it and just addressed it to him. I'm sure it went into the bin of junk that Carson got everything. But this was the height of TRL.
You got to try it. That's the thing. Yeah. And there are so many stories of people who are like, I knew he would never listen to it, and then they do, and then something happens. So you got to try.
Because we had a small window, because we did this in the fall of 2000, and the title of the song was Spring Break Millennium 1, so we were like, this has got to happen in the next 3 months.
It's got a shelf life, this one.
Because the title of it is the Spring Break. And once Spring Break 2001 is over, the song is just a novelty at that point. And it still is a novelty.
Yeah, that's
we should stick that on. We should find a way to get that on Spotify or something. I bet we'd get some.
Oh, we can. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we should. That's something we're going to make that happen. Yeah. Okay, so.
But since we had done that, we started doing some more writing, and that was where I think you were going with this. So
yeah.
You had been doing some writing aside from that, specifically a screenplay.
Right. I wrote a screenplay. It was called Picking Up.
And I loved the screenplay. Yeah. I thought it was awesome because it was a whole part of life that I just had never experienced. I mean, it freaking blew my mind, the stuff that was in there. Yeah. And this is based off real life. So it's not like these things couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, this,
So basically, in a nutshell, just for those that are listening, there was a story called Picking Up. It was about these guys in college. And their whole thing was when they went out at night, it was always about chasing women. That's what a lot of guys did, and I was one of those. And we so you go out drinking every night, chasing women, and trying to score as often and as many as you can. It wasn't. We weren't keeping score, but it was that was just so you understand the difference.
But the game is picking up.
That's right. But the game was picking up.
And you guys had a whole formula.
It was fun. Yeah.
The thing that stuck out to me was you had the big beautiful dude that just got the girls to come, and then you had game. Yeah. So you would get the best girl. And I was like, this guy knows what's up.
This was in the screenplay. This is not necessarily in real life true.
It doesn't matter. Don't tell me that. You're ruining it for me.
But the screenplay, this is the way the screenplay worked. So and then so it unfolded that these guys were they doing their thing. And they went down on spring break and chasing this girl. And of course, at the end, he kind of falls for this girl or whatever. But in it, Aaron enjoyed the script. And screenplay obviously never went anywhere. I sent it to some people and nobody ever replied. Again, back then, this is barely the internet and all that. So you put everything in an envelope and and hope that somebody replied to you. I got a couple of replies that said no thanks, but most people didn't even reply. But anyway, Aaron wrote this song called
Someone Else Instead.
Someone Else Instead. Which, by the way, is amazing, and it is on Spotify and on Apple. So if you're out there listening and you're curious about this song, because it is a good song, I wouldn't say it was if it wasn't. You can go to Aaron Brady. He's on both of them, and again, the song is almost 20 years old now, but it still holds up. It's like a punk rock, pop punk song, and it's called Someone Else Instead. And,
this is what I thought made our dynamic really good, is that you had so much life experience that I didn't have, that I could kind of live vicariously through you and kind of like meld that view into my view and heighten it, elevate it a little bit, make it more artistic.
Well, what I thought was cool was, so I did this little screenplay thing. Aaron had read it, and out of it came this song that I thought was phenomenal. And I'm like, well, if the screenplay never did nothing, at least we got this great piece of music because of the screenplay. And
but it was meant to go with the screenplay,
right? Well,
it was meant to be made a movie, and then this was going to go with it.
Yeah, it was going to be one of the songs, and it was the whole idea was perfect. But anyway, the track ended up going onto the album, on the AB album. Was it, I think, track 2 or 3? Three, and
Oh, track 2. Oh, I don't even know. Track 2.
I think you're right. Yeah, and it was. But anyway, the whole album's good. So go to Spotify or go to Apple Music and check it out. Because so now in the midst of all this, my roommate at the time moves in, decides that she's going to move in with her boyfriend. And I love my old roommate too, and her new guy was awesome. So I was happy for him, but we were kind of rushed. She was like, "Yeah, I'm going to move in with my boyfriend, and I'm going to do it like tomorrow." So I was like, so we were.
So I give you any notice. Right. Oh man!
I was like, okay, we'll figure it out then. So I tell Aaron, and he's like, dude, my apartment sucks. You've been to it, and this guy literally lived in a closet. It was a bed and his little computer, and then they had a communal bathroom, and he was paying ridiculous money for it. And so we put. So I'm like, let me see if we can find a place. So I started apartment hunting, and I was working at a bar at the time, and this guy said he knew a guy who was. Had just got another apartment, but his lease wasn't up, so we could probably sublet it. So anyway, one thing led to another. We did the checking. It was cool with the landlord, so we took over the space.
We saw the space. I mean, I was like, what? This is so nice. Like, this is so nice. Like, I'm going to get to live here?
Yeah. And it was...
Like, seriously, blew my mind.
This was a 4-room apartment. This was a kitchen.
No. I'm not talking about my place. I'm talking about the place that we moved into together.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It was the bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, and then considered a bedroom.
Right. There were 4 rooms. I think of it as 2 rooms. Basically, it's the kitchen and the rest of it.
Yeah. It was... I mean, it was tiny.
It's 4 rooms.
But it was... I mean, it was the size tiny. Of this area that you can see behind us here. It was so small. So we built our beds up and whatever. But Aaron put in a he had the equipment. He was proficient with recording stuff, and he went to school for engineering, right? Sound engineering,
audio engineering. Right.
So we essentially built a recording studio in the apartment. Yeah. And aside from the occasional road noise, it turned out to be great. The acoustics worked good enough. So he recorded the rest
Somehow we didn't piss off our neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part that amazes me the most.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know how that...
Yeah, I'll tell you though, after living... So I'm in a different apartment now. We had a pretty...
It was built like a battleship.
Yeah, it was. The sound didn't carry as much. Like, you can hear somebody talking in the room next to us in the apartment I'm in now, but back then, in ours, unless you were noisy,
right?
Which and you were. Yeah, but you were respectful of people's time. You weren't banging on a drum at 1 in the morning, unless we were just wasting being stupid, which did happen at times.
That definitely happens. I feel awful because you had basically the opposite work schedule I had. So anytime I was up and working.
Yeah.
I mean, often you were at work, which was helpful, but often you weren't. And
Yeah.
you were just super patient with me and super generous.
I loved it though, because it
was a great
a,
situation for me.
and it was it was a creative world, which is the world I wanted to plant
Right.
myself into.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of regrets because I felt like I allowed that time to pass without taking advantage. There were times where, you know, I should have been, instead of like going out chasing women, I should have said, let's have a creative night and let's write a song or something. No,
We did a lot of creative stuff though, and you forget about it because, you know, it didn't end up in that many projects, but we had tons of songwriting sessions over there, and we did end up doing quite a few recordings that I didn't end up releasing in a new record, which I should have probably, but.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think about. I've been on this kick where I'm just constantly thinking about time, what it means, how it is, how it passes, and I'm like, you know, I wasted. I don't want to say wasted because most of that time I was having a great time. It was a blast, but productive time should have been equally as important, and I was putting fun before productivity in a big way, and I kind of wish that I would have had a better balance of that back then. But that's outside. We'll talk about time in another episode. So we move in. So now Aaron has about not even half of the album recorded. He gets his studio set up, and he starts working on on completing it. Now, completes the record, gets them printed, does the whole process. Did you tour after that record or after the third record?
So I toured on that second record. And in fact, I did radio promotion. So, you've heard of payola? So I did payola. So I paid to get my song on radio.
Okay.
Which is shady at best, but necessary. And, you know, especially back then because I didn't have a label representing me. I didn't have anybody representing me. So I was just trying to get those low market stations just to put me in. Because they have space, you know, that they have some discretion over, and why not be me, you know? And I had songs that were definitely good enough to be on the radio, so I just used that promotion to get that that foot in the door, to get some spins going. And then once I got some traction, then I didn't have to do it anymore. It just took off.
Right.
And that was a drug, but was also, you know, the first tentpole, really, because once I started getting played a lot in a market, that's where I booked my gig. So I built my tour around where I was getting radio play.
Right, and you had that info. You knew where you were being played, right?
Exactly.
So he goes on to, it was just a van, right? It was just you in a van.
Yeah.
So you bought a van or rented a van?
I did rent a van for half of the first tour, and then I bought a van for the second tour.
Okay. So he's like, hey, I'm going to be gone
I used
for 3
my
months.
parents' car for the first half of the first tour.
Okay.
I used my dad's Toyota Avalon. So I was in like a sedan. It was not a touring vehicle. Right. It was very difficult.
Well, the thing that I kind of want to throw out there to people is, we were living here, and Aaron's like, listen, I'm going to go tour this record. I'll be gone for a few months. And I'm like, all right, but like to me, when I think tour, everything's like, you know, you got the tour bus, you got the, you know, the manager, all this stuff, and you know, you're going to venues, you go to real play, you know, and all these like, you know, like a tour to me had a different definition, I guess. Which, as you grow older, obviously definitions evolve from what you knew it as to begin with. I remember, this is an aside, when I was in high school, we were in Guys and Dolls, and we were supposed to play gangsters, right? I was part of the chorus, and the only gangster that I knew was like hip hop rap, gangster rap.
Funny, yeah.
And so we're supposed to be these like 40s gangsters with fedoras and all that stuff, and I'm walking around thugging and all this, and I didn't know any old movies. I didn't know what a traditional old school gangster was.
See?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't watch much TV growing up, and the people in the cast were like making fun of me, like, dude, this isn't. And I was like, it was still years after that before I realized, like, because, you know, again, you couldn't look it up on the computer or nothing, and I didn't. So unless I went to Blockbuster and rented an old gangster movie, which I had no interest in doing, I didn't know, because I didn't even know that was what it was. I thought a gangster was a gangster, you know. And so I looked.
You know, like the ambitious kids went and they rented Guys and Dolls, and they watched the actual show.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is that I was the only, like, in my family, like I was the first and only person that was ever kind of into musical theater. So I don't even know that my parents would have known to do that.
Right.
You know, my mom probably wouldn't have known to think like, oh, well, if you're going to do that, why don't we go over here and we'll go to Blockbuster? And it's no fault of hers. I'm not,
No, of course not.
in no way. But, you know, at that age, especially back then, you know, you could walk around with an ignorance of, and not realize it, and it's not your fault. But it's, you know, you're looking back on it, you're like, man, if I'd have just known, I wouldn't have been an ass of myself.
But at the time, you weren't being an ass.
No, well, I was because they didn't realize. I mean, I was to the other people.
But how did you feel? How did you feel?
So a lot of times I felt out of place because I clearly wasn't doing.
It wasn't clicking with everybody around.
Yeah, but I didn't know why.
Right.
You know, and I was like, well, maybe I'm just a better gangster, and they're all stupid, right? I mean, that's.
I love how you're turning that around. You know, you're like, I've got it right.
Right.
They don't know what they're talking about.
That's right. And
that seems like how we met.
And the truth is, it was 100% the other way, but I didn't know that.
I don't know. Maybe.
So anyway, this brings me back to, when he left for his tour, when Aaron left, I was like, the balls on this dude. Like, people thought I had guts to just like pack up and move to New York and give entertainment a try. And I agree that does take some guts. He did the same thing. But then I was like, you're throwing your shit in a truck and just traveling across the country, begging people to play at your spots. And I you know, looking back, I wish I would have went with you. I should have gone and just played the djembe drum the whole time or whatever.
That would have been sick.
Know,
but we wouldn't have had the apartment.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and you sit there.
So
it's
awesome.
all one. Yeah, there's different ways to. But I look back on all that stuff. Yeah, and I'm like, man, you know, I never went 100% all in on any one thing. So I think that, you know, that was why I always just everything kind of fizzled in a way. And I was like, man, this dude just went 100% all in. He came back from his tour, had all these great stories about being on the road because he was playing in malls, where were you playing? Malls, little small music venues, restaurants?
Lots of small music venues and restaurants. And then ended up doing some malls at the end, and then the whole second tour was just malls.
Okay, all right. And that's cool, and you got some fan bases there. Now, you don't have a website anymore, right? Is AaronBrady.com?
It's still up. It's a Flash website, so you can't view it on like an iPhone or anything. But you can view it on like a regular browser.
Okay, interesting. All right,
I've been meaning to redo it for a long time, and I don't know how I'd redo it now because I don't do music full time anymore. Right. So I'm not sure what I would do. I mean, people don't really do websites anymore. They really do apps. Facebook.
Yeah, apps and Facebook. Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think that's great because, you know, Facebook is awesome for some things. It'll go out of favor at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe it's already going out of favor.
Well, one of the things I don't like about Facebook is that, I mean, you can pay to have your stuff promoted on there, but, you know, you're launching into people's feeds. Maybe they want you there, maybe they don't. They can snooze you. They have all this power. The nice thing I think about having a website is that if somebody's interested in you, they can go and see what you're up to.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So instead of, and a lot of people say, well, you can do that on Facebook too. You just click on his name, look at it. And I'm like, true enough. But you're still at the whims of Facebook, right? They're still in control.
They own
of power.
all of that stuff that you've uploaded.
Yeah. So I'm all for having the website in addition to Facebook. I mean, obviously with the world we live in now, you got to kind of have it all. But
yeah, I don't know because I haven't been doing Facebook myself, nor have I been doing Twitter. But I think there's still an opportunity. Like, you know, if Billie Eilish didn't do Twitter, do you think she would still be a huge star?
That's a good question. I didn't know that she was a Twitter person.
I don't even know if she is.
Oh, okay.
The question is social media the difference between her being a big star and not being a big star?
Well, it's interesting because I do think that I can give two examples that I think that helped. One was Dane Cook, the comedian.
Well, he made his career on social media,
MySpace,
and it didn't last.
Right. Well, that's a weird thing. Did it not last? Because
is he still working?
I mean, I think he's still in some movies from time to time, and I think he's still a comedian. I think that he made enough money that he's pulled back.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak with knowledge on that. I don't know. And the other one is Macklemore. Macklemore, the hip hop guy.
Sure. Him
and Ryan Lewis. They met because of MySpace, and became complete independent artists for the Heist record. And they did it via social media. And I don't know that they could have done that if it wasn't for social media.
It's a tool, and it is a great tool,
yeah.
and it's mostly a free tool, which is awesome. And
like Post Malone too. If it wasn't for SoundCloud or an app, SoundCloud and or whatever it may be that is SoundCloud, he got his start because he put something up, and a friend of a friend of a friend let a hip hop guy listen to it who liked it, tweeted out about it because he had a bazillion followers, and boom, Post Malone's on the thing.
Sure. You have tastemakers that'll still be, I think, the gateway to success or not success or muted success or levels of success. There's all sorts of different ways to look at it. But I don't think that any great art is going to be suppressed because of a lack of a social media presence. There will be somebody with a social media presence that will pick them up and share them with the world. And it goes back to the original tastemaker model where tastemakers didn't want to find something popular. They wanted to find the new thing.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that trumpeted it. And it's better that way because then an artist isn't self-promoting. They're being promoted by somebody who's already earned a reputation for having great taste.
Yeah.
So I think these things will surface no matter what. There's definitely going to be examples of where people use their social media presence to make themselves. And I definitely did it to an extent. So I used MySpace to start going. In fact, I used mp3.com. That's how I first got the single from AB noticed enough to be able to pay to get it on radio.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so that has social media
that was the
aspect.
very beginning of the digital music world, really. I mean, that was...
And I paid to promote the song on mp3.com.
Because MySpace was what, 03, 04, 04?
Yeah. 02, 03, 04, sure.
Yeah, wow. Because Facebook, I think, was 05, right?
Yeah, Facebook probably came out in 05, and I remember hearing about Facebook and being like, whatever, I've got a MySpace account.
Yeah. Dude, that was amazing. I mean, that was like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Like Backstreet Boys, and then NSYNC, and then NSYNC, then Backstreet Boys, then NSYNC, and then Backstreet Boys just like, no. And obviously, they've still held their own, but MySpace was the Backstreet Boys, Facebook was NSYNC, and then Facebook held it on forever. MySpace.
I love your analogy. I mean, that speaks to me, man. Yeah, it speaks right to me.
It's so funny. God, yeah, that was, wow. So I forgot that you had used
So who are the
MySpace.
tastemakers now? Who makes a star now?
Well, okay, so... I mean, it's about your followers, right? So, I mean, I feel like anybody that's a true influencer has to have 1 million followers.
Yeah.
I mean, a true influencer, right? Now, if one of the, like, and I'm not, I don't want to, I'm trying not to ever be hateful on my podcast, just so you guys know. So I don't want to say something, like, really negative, but I'm just going to say I'm not a fan of the Kardashians. So, but if any one of them post anything like, hey, I like this, it's overnight success for whoever that is.
For sure.
I mean, it could be somebody designed a T-shirt, a new song.
It's not career making exactly because you do have to follow it up with some more quality stuff.
Right.
But that gives you your peak of visibility, and then you can parlay that into something bigger.
Yeah.
And it does take some ambition. So I'm not saying it's not about ambition, but there are still roots, and it doesn't require the artists themselves to take on the mantle of all the promotional tools at society's disposal today.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's crazy because the influencer people, the taste makers are certainly. I mean, I don't know, man. If
you used to have to go through somebody, a gatekeeper, to become a tastemaker, but now if you just get a following organically, you can be that.
Yeah, because if you put something out there and say, "Oh, I like that," that guy liked it, so you listen to. If he likes 2 or 3 things, you're like, "Dude, this guy's always right."
But the Kardashians didn't make themselves through Twitter.
No, by no means.
It's just a tool that they're able
following.
to do.
Yeah, they have that kind of following that they could if they wanted to be a tastemaker, if they wanted to promote something, they just pop it up there and it's that quick.
Well, the Kardashians were made by MTV, right? Keeping Up with the Kardashians, was that an MTV show?
Well, okay. The Kardashians were basically made by a sex tape.
Sure.
So, I mean, they were...
Was it Ray J?
No, it was first... Well, it was back... all right, now this is going to be messed up. So, what's-his-name was a lawyer on the OJ case.
Yeah.
Somehow or
Her
another...
dad, Kardashian, was a lawyer on the OJ
right.
case.
And somehow or another, it got them intermixed and whatever, and one of the daughters ended up blowing some dude in a nightclub or something, or I don't remember what the thing was. It was a sex tape of some sort. Kim, I think. Was it Kim? Yeah, it was Kim.
It was Kim that was
on the sex tape.
The sex tape, but I thought it was with Ray J.
It may have been. I don't. I'd have to look it up. We should be looking this up so we're speaking accurately, but we're not.
So I don't know. I don't know.
But anyway, so that blew that up, and then everybody else kind of followed. But I'll tell you what. I have a funny. Let me see if it's right on the top of this. I'll read it real quick. It's one of the funniest things that I remember reading about the Kardashians, and I don't know if I have it readily available.
It's like basically how their career progressed?
Right.
How they became famous?
It's a funny thing. So basically it says this. The Buffalo Bills in whatever year, 1970, whatever, or 80, whatever, missed a field goal that cost them the playoffs. And I'm completely plagiarizing right now and making stuff up. This is not what it says. I'll find it. We'll read it some other time. But and it says they missed this field goal. That gave them the first pick in the draft the following year or whatever. Mm-hmm. With that pick, they chose O.J. Simpson. Mm-hmm. When they chose O.J. Simpson, he moved to Buffalo. And while he was with Buffalo, or however that worked, that's where he met Nicole. When he met Nicole, this, that, and the other, then Nicole gets murdered. Then then O.J. Simpson gets thrown in jail, and Kardashian is the one that does it. Kardashian does this, and so-and-so blows so-and-so, and it goes through the whole timeline all the way up to where we are today. And then it says, damn you, Buffalo Bills. Damn you. Yeah. They're saying that we're all cursed with the Kardashians because the Buffalo Bills missed a field goal.
Damn field goal.
Which is
butterfly effect, yo.
Yeah. It's quite funny. But
have you seen that movie?
I have not.
I haven't either.
And I've heard that it's good, yeah, but
need to watch that.
Okay, so cool. So all right, so this is for the young people out there that are kind of aspiring to get into something. Aaron and I are both here to tell you to just do it. Just do it. We've both just done it in a lot of different ways. But Aaron is a true attest to he wanted to do something and he did it. So he wanted to go on tour. It doesn't have to be in a big badass tour bus. And if one of his records had ever gone platinum, he would have certainly welcomed the big tour bus. But he toured the country. Yeah. He got to see the world, the whole country doing it, playing music, doing what he loved. Came back, like, it was amazing.
There are tons of artists that have a very similar story. And I remember I booked the tour after watching this thing called Here Comes Huffamoose, which was about the next big thing. And they just basically booked their own tour and rented a van. So I was like, well, if they can do it.
Yeah, that's
I can do it.
Yeah.
And I've got this radio play. I need to do something with this anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what really got the wheels turning for me and basically got me to decide that's what I was going to do. Because that had to be the next logical progression.
Right.
It would have been a real shame to have done the radio promotion and then not toured on the back of that. That would have been the problem.
Well, here's the thing that I think is amazing, and that I don't think we've emphasized enough. All right, we were broke.
Like brokey broke. Like so broke.
We didn't have a reserve net. We didn't have family that we could call up and say, hey, we're finally broke. We need 10 grand. Like, that was just not an option. Like, it was just, we were out there on our own accord, and we were good. We had to make it no matter what. And so the fact that he could have had a job here in New York just to make sure, he did not let that stop him from saying, but that's not what I'm supposed to do, and he went and did it. And I cannot make the same claim. I have let my job make some decisions for me. I haven't gone to my job and say, hey, make this decision. But what I'm saying is, like, I've let those decisions be made because, well, I better take the safe route and make the money or, pay my rent, whatever. And Aaron was like, no, I got a tour, so I'm going to do it. We'll figure it out. And he just did it. We sublet I had another roommate for a few months while he did it because he's like, I can't pay my rent while I'm on the road because I don't have any money.
Which is, again, a super huge thing for you to do. It was really generous because I wasn't the one that found the roommate. I mean, I wouldn't have had to live with them anyway, so it was probably better that you find somebody. But I basically just, like, I almost did to you what your previous roommate did to you, which was like, I'm going on tour, see you later, bye.
Yeah.
I gave you a little bit more notice, because I hope I gave you at least 2 months' notice, but I'm not sure I did.
I don't remember. I don't really remember, but I do know she was great. Her name was April. I'll stay away from last names on this thing, but she was cool. I had met her. I put a thing up on Craigslist. When he told me that he was going on his tour, gave me the dates, expected dates, and it was open-ended. He didn't have a close date. So when I was looking for the roommate, I had to say, listen, you can stay as long as you want until he comes back, and I don't know when that is. So it was kind of a specific order. And I put this thing out there on Craigslist, if I recall, and she called within a day, maybe within a couple hours, and she was cool as shit on the phone. Like, as soon as I talked to her, I was like, this could be cool. And I told her right up front, I said, listen, this is not a situation that you're going to think is normal. the bed. Yeah, you got to climb a winding staircase to get to the bed, and it's
Which I
stairs.
built by hand.
Yeah, they're 2x4s nailed together. It's not a staircase. So you got to climb this.
We
thing.
just made stuff work.
Yeah,
man.
we just made it work, and I'm like, so you'd be living in the living room essentially. I have this little separate bedroom. This is the rent. Then this is everything's included. You just got to give me this amount of money every month. So come and see it before you say yes. She's like, well, I want to live in the city. I need to live in the city. I think she's from Jersey, if I recall.
It was a great location too.
Yeah,
and if I remember right, she was a PA on a movie.
I think something like that. Yeah.
So this was like a great situation for her and for you because she was mostly out doing the movie.
Yeah. She was, and she did. It was like you and I. She had the 9 to 5 or the day job, and I was working nights and weekends. So but yeah, so she came in and moved in, and so she came and saw the apartment, and it was almost embarrassing to bring her in and say, listen, I know that I told you on the phone. She's like, no, I appreciate your honesty. She came in. She's like, I can make this work. And shit, I was like, this is cool. And she was cool in the game, man. We had a great little roommate-ship for a few months. And actually, there was a guy that she was really good friends with. And I didn't really, I think that he was interested and she wasn't, like romantically. And some time sort of passed, and he was always kind of like there in the backgrounds. And I was like, he's just not taking a hint. And so, like what Aaron was saying, like being wrong and right, whatever. Well, like 2 years later, they end up married, and I just saw recently that they had a second or third kid now. So she's cool. Yeah. So he won over the girl because at the time I don't think that he was.
She was just putting up with him.
Yeah, at the time she was just like, oh my God, there's so many men out here. Do I have to make a decision already? Yeah. But I think that finally he wore her down, and they seem like they're a really happy couple. They got a couple kids together, so I'm happy for her. Hello, April, out there in the.
That's neat.
Yeah. So I hope she's happy as she looks on Facebook when I see her. I know she got a couple. I'm almost sure that she just had another baby. So.
Yeah, 3's the new 2, by the way. 3 kids. 3's the new 2.
Oh, shoot. So so she was my roommate for, she ended up being about 6 or 7 months. Yeah. And then I told her that when you were coming back that I had made you promise that I would get at least 30 days notice because it wasn't fair to her and I have 30 days. And you agreed, we all agreed.
Yeah, so it worked out amazingly well.
So it was like 6 weeks out. Aaron's like, I'm going to be home on whatever it was, February 1st or whatever. And so I let her know.
I think I came back in the fall, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, so I let her know, and she's like, all right, cool, man, I really appreciate it. And then she went on about her ways, and we kind of lost touch, really, except for via Facebook. I haven't talked to her in a long, long time, but it was such a short little thing, and I was so busy, and she was busy, and, you just come across these people in life, and you just hope that they do well and are happy the rest of their lives. I hope she is. So, but that was a cool little thing. So, okay, so we come back. Aaron moves back in, reclaims his stake and reclaims his spot, and starts working on album number 3. Yeah. And then that one was called The Optimists.
The Optimists, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I wrote the best song I've ever written in that apartment, watching the news.
And that was on The Optimist?
Yeah, it was on the title track, yeah.
That you think is your best song?
Yeah.
Do you?
What do you think?
Well, I have 2 ahead of that one.
Really?
Yeah. One is Don't Cry.
Well, but that's not released.
That's a masterpiece, and it is released.
It is released, but not the masterpiece version.
Not the masterpiece version.
Oh, and I know you hate that too.
I do. It drives me nuts. I still listen to the MP3 probably monthly.
You have a copy of it?
Yeah. Do you need it?
Yeah, we need to put it up too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't realize I have a copy. Yeah, I'll put it in.
In fact. So we're making the commitment right now. We need to come out with a new record, basically putting out those recordings that we did at that time. Because there's a lot of great stuff that needs to be released.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. And I've got some... All right, good. We'll talk more about that. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, so Don't Cry is, I think, number 1. And number 2 is You Move Me. Which both of these, by the way, are on April. Yeah, April Hamilton, who is the one that he produced it. But
You Move Me is a single.
It doesn't surprise me that, in my opinion, that it was your best work. Because... it was your 4th go. You had three things of experience ahead of you, and you were able to sit back and know what was wrong without being personally invested because it wasn't your voice. You know what I mean? You could
because of April, because of it being April stuff.
It was April's voice and performance, and you were the guy making everything happen, and she was literally
really interesting.
Yeah, she was but this girl could sing. My God, she could sing.
Yeah, she has an amazing voice.
Yeah, and
she was even better in the blues than she was with the pop stuff that I wrote for her. Like, she just has a soulful voice.
Yeah, oh God, that's a funny story. So. All right, so
and that was rando.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the story about that is, so April. So I worked at a bar, and April was a waitress there for a short minute. And
this was after the crash.
Yeah,
because basically everyone's life just got torn to pieces. So she had been in the corporate world and then came to work at your place for a bar,
right?
Yeah.
And so one night we were closing up, and it was just some staff and maybe one or two regular customers. And at the end of the night, I was back then especially, I was usually drinking a few beers, and we'd put on some loud music and sing and do whatever.
We'd already been living together for 5 years at that point?
Yeah.
That's insane!
And so Aaron had written this song. So he has a song. He had a friend that unfortunately passed away. Was it leukemia?
Yes.
Okay.
It was leukemia.
So in the midst of her passing away, Aaron was really moved to write this piece for her, kind of from her perspective, and wrote this beautiful song. But he needed it to come from a female voice, and he had been looking for somebody that he thought could do it. So a parallel to this is I'm sitting in the bar, we're closing up one night, and something comes on, and I'm singing away, I'm singing my heart out in, and April just kind of joins in, and I was actually, it was like a slap in the face because I hated it when I was singing and having a good time or kind of showing off, whatever, especially back then, and somebody outdid me, and I was like. This girl started singing, and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, I was like annoyed. I was like, I didn't know you sing. I've known you 3 months now, whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, whatever. And I was like, no. I got to hear some more. So we sang a couple more songs. Just again, this is late. We were drinking stuff. So and I was like, would you be willing to record something? And she's like, yeah. Why? What? I mean, I've never done it. I'd be happy to though. And I'm like, all right. I'm gonna call you tomorrow. I'm gonna put you together with somebody. And I was like, I was floored at how good this voice was. And this was at the end of a night of a bar, at the end of a shift. And so I get home the next morning when I wake up and get a chance to talk to Aaron. I said, I got somebody for your song.
And I'm like, okay.
Right. So he's like, all right. And I said, just call her in.
But you had never done that. So I'm like, wow, okay. So we found somebody.
Right. So I said, you guys, and I think it was the Sunday that you guys first met because I was on a double shift, if I remember right.
Okay.
So they met, so I said, get in touch.
You basically just sent her over, right?
Yeah, I put her over. And so Aaron sat with her and said, all right, here, I got 2 songs for you. Take these home, learn them, and come back tomorrow, and we'll see if this will work. So he called me, I think that night, and said, yeah, when she was just here, she does got some things. It might work out. And then the next day, he recorded their little session. This is literally day 2 after meeting, and she did "Don't Cry" on her second take. Is that right? You did that in the second take, and it's still the best recording. It's a masterpiece, and it gives me chills just thinking about it. And I'll never forget how proud I was of myself to be able to match 2 people that needed to meet.
It's alchemy, man.
And yeah.
You made it happen. It's really cool.
You needed to meet because he put together an album for her that she was able to say was hers. And she has this wonderful little album that now, the way it all kind of unfolded, at the very end, it was like, for some reason, she kind of pooped out. Like, she didn't really want to go for that last... Like 90% of the work was done, and the last 10%, she was just like,
"It's like right there."
Yeah, she was like, "Yeah, I'm done." And I was like, "Wait a minute." And I feel like it was about belief. I don't feel like she believed that she could have stepped into the realm that she was about to step into because it was there. I really believe it was. But that's neither here nor there. She didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it. But
it's crazy.
But the fact is, you put together a masterful album for her, something that could have been shopped and pitched to anyone, a major label, or right then was the beginning of the indies kind of coming out with social media, with their own. If she really kind of started to play more live and really get SoundCloud going and all that kind of stuff, whatever was available at the time. But it's still a great album. I mean, you can download it on Spotify or Apple Music. Still, both of them are on there, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 tunes on there that make me kind of cringe a little bit. One of them is the "Don't Cry" version that I that I
Right.
insisted go on the record.
Yeah.
Because it was a country record, and the original wasn't country, and I
Right.
just felt like that it couldn't go on the record unless it was country.
Unless I had a banjo underneath.
Yes, and I just ruined it. I ruined
Well,
it. Dude.
I mean, one track does. There's always a couple of duds on a record, so that's not. But the thing I hated, and so if we're just
Oh, there's more you hated?
No, I didn't hate anything except it was the thing that I disagreed with, and we actually talked about it. And I was overridden. Was the title of the record because I felt like keep the faith
Yeah.
was it just put it in. The people would automatically assume leap of faith. Leap of faith would automatically put it into a Christian category, and it wasn't a Christian record.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I
but that's not what she meant about leap of faith.
I know, but that's when you see that title.
It's about what you're talking about right now.
Right.
Having the faith in yourself to go and do something.
Go do it. Agreed. But if you see that title,
Irony.
you're gonna think that it's.
That's so interesting.
And so the title of the record always drove me crazy because it.
But that was the one song she wrote.
Right.
I had nothing to do with that one. Just produced
okay.
it.
All right. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because you're a co-writer on every track on there, right? Yeah.
Either I wrote it all myself or.
Well, we have my version of if we decide to put together all these old
We're gonna do
B-sides,
it. We're doing it.
We got. I might have to re-record it, but we have the male version of Mississippi Daydreams.
We're doing it.
Which was fun. I have that. Teresa still listens to that sometimes.
Good.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Good.
She's like, play Mississippi Daydreams is my version. It's
so awesome.
I'm a country boy from Tupelo. It's hilarious.
That's
I love
so great.
Yeah. So whatever happened to Mason?
Mason's still doing his thing. He's doing a lot more commercial work now. So he's branched out from just country, and he's not trying to be an artist animour.
Oh, okay. Right.
But he's doing a lot of music for TV and film. Basically, what I was doing for Smack Music and Village to Beach Music.
Okay. So Aaron was through with Aaron and April. They became kind of a pretty tight team there while they were putting together this last record. There was another country band, Mason. What was the name of their band?
Well, Mason Douglas was a solo artist, and then there was Bobby McGrath and the Brothers. And I was
what I'm talking
I was in Bobby McGrath's band as one of the brothers.
Bobby McGrath is the one that I'm thinking of.
Sure.
Mason, yeah, man, shoot, I forgot. Actually, yeah.
But Bobby McGrath, so he's still doing some country stuff. He had considered moving down to Nashville, but he married a chick from Brazil who's a doctor, and so he's having to go where she's got her
Well, it's funny you
residency.
say that because Teresa and a couple of her friends went down to I can't remember the name of the place, but it's a barbecue joint that's got a live music in it. One night, and she's when she was telling me about it, she's like, "Oh yeah, we had a good time." And she said, "She goes, have you ever heard of Bobby McGrath?"
No.
I swear to God, he was playing. and I was like,
He's
I
so
know
good
him.
too. He is so
Well, that's
good.
what she said. She's like,
so
dude, he
good.
was amazing. I'm like, dude, that was like Aaron's boy. Like, he played in the band and everything. She's like, no. I'm like, I'm telling you, I know the guy. Like, he is. Yeah, and that's hilarious that's the.
So yeah, he's still.
I know he's still
gigging,
playing. That was
obviously.
right before the pandemic, so I know that he was still playing then. I don't know what's happened since. But.
Well, Nashville's opened back up, so I was down there in November, and the place was off the hook. It was so crowded. All the bars were open. All the bands were playing. So I think Nashville's back.
He had a song called "Turning Plains." That it was another one of those raw cuts, like the "Don't Cry" version of April, that I was in love with. I was like, this song is the one that'll make the hit. And he hated it.
He did hate it.
And he rewrote it, re-recorded it, spelled it around. And I'm like, dude, you're not listening to the people.
He said that it was the best thing that we ever did, because we tried several things, and it just wasn't happening for him, because he had a much more Nashville view of himself. And I was leaning into the New York country, because New York and country, like it's an iconoclast.
Yeah.
It's the magic. Anyway, so the Turning Plains Around, which is about
coming to New York, but not fitting in.
But everyone thought it was about 9/11.
Oh no!
I was like, this is great.
It never even occurred to me that people would think that.
100%.
Oh, wow.
100%. And so that's why he changed it, because he didn't want that.
He got it in his own head. I don't think.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that he put out an EP, and you guys should definitely check it out because it's very good.
Okay.
And Turning Plains is one of them, except he changed the title of it, and I forget what it is. Now, if we weren't talking about that version, because now that's all I can hear.
Right.
But it's not enough, for it to like hit that chord with people. The artist has to own it and live it and be it, and if they can't, then it needs to change.
It's got to be shelved.
But that's why you pass those songs on to somebody else.
Right.
Like Prince did that all the time. Like he would write this stuff and he'd even record it and it just wouldn't be that smash hit. It just wouldn't.
Yeah, it didn't come out.
But
of him.
He'd pass it to somebody else and they'd make
works.
it this huge thing.
Yeah. I think I've always thought that'd be really. Actually, I think there's a new TV show coming out where. It's like a songwriting game. It's one of these things like The Voice and all that crap, but it's a
100%.
songwriting one.
Yep.
Yeah, and so you actually have a professional, famous singer and band play your song. I think that's a really neat concept. I'm happy to see.
I'm ashamed that I haven't been watching it actually, because if it's on, I should be like that. Should be my.
Yeah.
Like I would love that.
That would I feel like
it'd probably make me super jealous.
We watched Project Greenlight. Remember that?
Yeah, that was awesome too.
First season or two that was on because they're writing the screenplays and stuff. God. There was so much good stuff back then. Project Greenlight, that's when Lost and Entourage and The End of Friends and all that. We had so many good.
Those were good shows. I would say shows these days. There are a lot of great ones now, and in fact, there's too much great stuff. You can't watch it all.
Up. Yeah.
But that was the beginning of that renaissance.
Yeah.
So that was the right at the time where there were few enough of them that you could watch them all.
Yeah.
And they were all in common with everybody. And now. People will tell you about these shows, and you don't have them in common with them anymore because you can't watch it.
Yeah,
you don't have time in your life.
I'll tell you though, some of the stuff you're like, I can't believe people are getting paid to write this crap. Like I want, especially like the episodes, like the weeklies, like the cop shows and all this crap, or it's almost basically soap operas now, but they do it with cops and stuff. And I watch they're all the same. All the storylines are the same. They take the headlines of last month and stick them into a script, and it's like. These guys are making ridiculous money, and they're about as original as friggin'. I mean, it's I don't know
who watches those.
Yeah. I have a joke that I have in my stand-up. I'm like, I was flipping through. There's so much on TV, and I flip through, and I'll stop on a thing, and I watch for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm like, man, who watches this crap? So I just moved in with my girlfriend. And like it's such a like, and I'm like, I'm so glad we have two TVs because I can't. I mean, there's stuff that we watch together. We plan to watch stuff together, but when it comes to if she gets her choice and I get my choice, we're in different rooms.
So I know all the housewives of New York. Roni, that's my jam, because I need to have something in common with my wife.
So she won't budge. So you're just like, well, I guess I have another one that's got to give in.
If I want to have some conversation, I got to know these names. I got to know what Ramona's doing.
That's funny. There's so I DJ on Thursday nights at this bar, and across the street from the bar is one of the contestants from a couple seasons ago on The Bachelor. I couldn't tell you what season. I don't know the name of the guy. I could care less.
Who cares? Yeah, exactly.
But whenever he's there, it's like the bar's just packed with pussy. Like it's fucking hilarious. Crazy. Like this dude, just because he was on The Bachelor, they're all just sitting there swooning over him, like he's still gonna be on another season of it or something. I don't understand It's like they saw him on a thing of The Bachelor. And
what's the guy do for money now?
Hell, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if he does anything. He probably just says, "Hey, I was on The Bachelor," and gets dinners bought for him. Oh. I don't get it. It's baffling.
It is baffling.
He'll come in and he guest bartends what he does. He knows the owner of the bar, so he'll come in on one of those nights and
I'll bet he gets paid to guest bartend.
Yeah, probably do that.
And gets to keep tips on top of it.
Yeah, and
because it's got to be great for the bar.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I mean, I think they probably tweet out, "Hey, so and so's gonna be here tonight," and friggin' 50 gorgeous girls all dolled up.
That is insane.
I know. It's like the dude was on a piece of shit TV show.
How do we get you hooked up there?
I just
We're gonna get you on The Bachelor. Huh?
It's like, God, I don't know. It's weird. I know a couple of guys that have been on The Bachelor. Not a bartender that I know. He's actually a bartender, a really nice Italian restaurant. But he was on The Bachelor. But he didn't make it. Like he didn't make it to like the final 10 or whatever it was. He was in the preliminary stuff, so he didn't really have that fame. But I know a couple guys that have done it.
I was in Terre Haute doing a festival, and there was a local chick who was in America's Next Top Model. And she was there at the show and decided she wanted to hang out with me that night. So we were hanging out, and everywhere we went, we were like golden couple for a night.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He's on the radio. She's on TV.
Yeah.
Ah. It was cool.
It's fun when you're with. You remember Sonia?
She worked with it. 100%.
So she looked when she was younger, she looked just like Julia Stiles.
Sure.
And there was a night where, and you remember Hugh?
Yeah.
So I'm still close with Hugh. I talk to him all the time.
Good dude.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I actually just saw him last week.
Tell him I said hi.
And I will do so. But so one night we closed up the club or whatever party we were working or whatever. And so me and him and her went out to just a lounge somewhere downtown somewhere. And the three of us went in, and everybody thought that it was Julia Stiles.
And you feel
that was a security, and me and her were either friends or dating or whatever. And it was, again, this is 2002 or 3 or whatever. But it was like, it was so weird. Like, there was everybody, like, we were the only ones that knew that she wasn't Julia Stiles. And everyone just thought that that's Julia Stiles. You could just
But the atmosphere changed. You could feel
crazy.
like the whole building shift around you guys.
And there was always an eye on us, and we were just like, and we were just laughing about it, sitting over there, and Sonny was like, yeah, they think I'm Julia. We're just.
You're no stranger though to hanging out with celebs. So I remember JT opened a restaurant across the street from our apartment.
Yeah.
And you swung that. You got to hang out with him.
Yeah. That was a good friend of mine. Actually, was able to get me in because she was friends with one of the Yankees, and the Yankee knew the guy that was on the Yankees was actually friends with those guys in the NSYNC band.
So hold on.
And so
you walked in with a New York Yankee.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, I was waiting for them because he had a game that night.
Yeah.
She was at the game, so she came from the game to the opening with him, and I was at home. So when they were on the way,
that was the opening night.
Yeah,
of the restaurant.
Dang. So she called me, and because we pre-planned this whole thing, and she's like, "All right, we're on the way." So I went downstairs and met, and their SUV rolled up. She got out, he got out, I got out. So we started to go up, and I was standing behind him, and she was standing in front of him. So security kind of cut, like they let her in, let him in, and then it was like name, and no, he turned around, he goes, "No, he's with me." And so I walked in, and then that was actually fun because that was the first time he and I had ever met, and we sat at the booth and hung out, and then he went and did his thing with the guys from NSYNC and all that stuff, and then we got a chance to mingle and meet some of the other people, and that was right when he was first started dating Jessica Biel, and then so she was there too, and then but then he had another game the next day or whatever. He was leaving, but he came right back up to me, remembered my name, and said, "Hey man, it was great to meet you," and shook my hand and left. And I was like, "Wow, that's cool." Awesome. He didn't have to do that. He could have easily just been like, "I'm doing a favor for my friend to get me in this thing," but he had a whole conversation with me, hung out, and so that was definitely one of the funner experiences as far as hanging out with celebrities. But shit, goddamn,
wasn't Justin gonna leave, and then the New York Yankee kind of made a little bit of a scene?
No, that was a whole. So, all right, I guess it doesn't.
Am I conflating stories?
I'm trying to hide names here, so I'll just... The Yankee was Roger Clemens, right? So my friend was friends with Roger. And Roger, I guess, knows Justin and all those guys in the band. So we're sitting in the booth, and she said we'd been there an hour or so, and she's like, "Roger," and he's known her whole life, like they're old family friends, right? She's like, "Roger, when am I going to meet Justin? What the fuck?" And so he's like, "Hey!" And so everybody's like, "What?" And, "Get your skinny ass over here!" And
he just summons him over, huh?
And so everybody's kind of looking around like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I told you, get over here!" And so Justin was like, kind of turned around, looked, and saw that it was Roger Clemens.
Wow.
And granted, two equally monstrous famous people at this point in their careers, one of them 10 years older than the other and 3 times the size.
Right.
So Roger wins.
Yeah.
So Justin kind of had a face like, "What the fuck," But he said, "All right." And he came over. Roger's like, "Come here, I want you to meet these guys." And so he introduced us all, whatever. And it was like, yeah. And my girl was like, she was like, Jesus. She wanted to take him over there and introduce him, but it was like so that was, but yeah, man, Roger was, and then he's got different opinions from everyone. Everybody thinks, but I'm here to attest that dude, if you meet him in person, is as kind and polite as you would ever know. he was, and he made it a point to say hello, to say goodbye before he left. Shook my hand. You know, he was. I cannot say from the person that I know, or I shouldn't say no, but person that I met and spent an evening with, the guy was as good as gold. So all the shit that the newspapers and, you know, sports writers and all that stuff say about him, oh, he's a jerk for this, or he's done that, or this, you know, shady, I could care less. He was as kind and gentle as could be with me, and that was, and my you know, my friend that got me into the place, he treats her like gold too. He's like an uncle to her. So
that's cool.
yeah, that's kind of the story there. That was a fun night. But yeah, what was that? Shit, how did we get into that story? There was something I wanted to touch base on, and then.
I don't know. We were talking about how it felt to be celebrities.
Oh, to be with a celebrity. Yeah, with one eye on you the whole time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's cool. I've been with a few people where people like not really famous. Like my buddy Doug was a comedian who never really he was on a television series.
He was a talented
show
kid.
once. Yeah, he was an amazing comedian. But one night he had we'd stopped for lunch somewhere at like a diner place, and somebody came up to him and was like, dude, I saw you on stage there and I didn't know. You're a comedian. And he's like, yeah. He's like, man, I love you. You know, he was praising him, whatever. And it was just one of those cool moments where you got to see somebody who really isn't famous yet.
But got recognized.
But got recognized because of it.
Freaking awesome.
And I got recognized because I did that episode of Change of Heart. And for like 2 to 3 weeks after that aired, people would see me like, dude, you're on Change of Heart. I cannot believe how many people watched that stupid show.
Right?
Right? And so it was funny though. There was a moment of, I was like, I mean, certainly it wasn't any level of fame, but people recognized me from Change of Heart. And I'm like, dude, I mean, it's a good thing. I luckily was on an episode where the chick changed her heart. So I would have hated to be the guy that either got dumped or the guy that she didn't pick. But so I was happy that it was, with the number of people that actually recognized you from it, I was like, dude, I'm glad she changed her heart and picked me because I'd feel like a real douche. Dude, I saw you. Jesus. Yeah, that was a fun little time too. So cool. All right, so we get to record 3, record, put that one out, and then fall in love, get married, and quit music.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, yeah, I wanted to stay in the city, and we had, our first kid, and we stayed in the city for a year, but it's not as comfortable a life when you're raising a kid in the city.
Yeah.
I would have done it. You know how hard I work. I would have been all about it. But
do you feel like, okay, so after your 3rd record, then you put your blood, sweat, and tears in April's record for a good 9 months. Yeah. Get that released. And was her record out before you got married or shortly after?
Just before.
Okay, so that stress was gone. Then you get married. At that point, were you thinking about doing another record for yourself, or were you already like, you know what, I've done 3 plus hers. I'm ready to enter a new chapter.
I had 3 in the can. I was ready to go. So I was going to do another record.
You were going to do another one.
Yeah, but once the kid came, the time that I was able to spend in music was really in Bobby McGrath's band.
Okay.
And I was doing a lot of work for that, which was really creatively satisfying. I was having an awesome time. And then the decision to move out of the city was really the death blow because you don't have proximity anymore. Like to put together a band out in the burbs is hard.
Yeah.
To put together a band with kids is hard. Yeah. You put those together and it's hard squared, which is a lot harder than hard plus hard. It's impossible.
Right.
And so I had made the decision, if I didn't have a hit by 30, then I would be a family and career man.
Yeah. That's cool.
And I 100% embraced it. And
well, I'll tell you, man, you're doing. I mean, I spent some time with his kids and stuff tonight, and they are just angels. I mean, just
you got to see a meltdown, like a for real meltdown.
That's
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, but they're polite, they're sweet, they were so well behaved. We went out to dinner, we've had a really nice night, and he's got this beautiful home. So you're doing all right, man.
Yeah,
I'm really, really happy for you.
And I know a lot of it is about like expectation, and I didn't expect to have nearly as good a life as this is. So I feel like super grateful all the time, and I think that helps a lot. If I had expected to have a lot more than this, then I think I'd be maybe bitter,
Yeah.
But because I had made the decision that, if the music thing didn't, if it wasn't a bona fide hit by 30, then I've got this other life that I'm going to have an awesome time with.
Oh,
So that was really what helped me make that transition. And it was even 3 years after that, because I had turned 30 and I still didn't really give it up.
Yeah.
Because I was so close. I was like,
yeah.
oh, so close.
Dude, you're so close on so many things.
I had the publishing deal. I had the tour. The record was popping. Like, things were going.
So that's the one thing we didn't cover yet. Explain a publishing deal for those that don't know.
Sure. So most people know about record deals, and that's where they, help you make a recording and they promote your recording. They do all the pressings and everything like that. And, by the early 2000s, this had become something you could do on your own. And there were a couple of things that were put together to help you do it. Like there was one called CD Baby that I ended up doing, I think, the third time around. But there were a lot of other vendors where you could make your own CD, pay to have it pressed, and then have it distributed electronically. The thing that I did was I got in with a retailer, FYE, and I got them to stock my music. So by the time I was touring, I had all the things you needed to become a bona fide success. And this publishing company was like, okay, so this guy's doing his thing. He's going to get signed. We better scoop up his publishing now so that it doesn't become part of his record deal. Or we can, flip it. And because often a record deal includes publishing these days. But, because they weren't a record company, they were just looking at, one part of it. So a publishing deal is not the physical recording or the sound recording, but the melody and lyrics.
Okay.
So they would own the publishing share of the song. I would own the writer's share, and then I really split the publishing share with them. They were a co-publisher.
Okay. All right. And you had that. That wasn't Rubin, right? Was that the Rick Rubin thing?
Rick Wake.
Rick Wake. That's right.
Rick Wake.
Right.
I wish it was Rick Rubin, man. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But Rick Rubin, he's on the recording side, so he would done record deals. He's a producer.
Oh, that's right.
So Rick Wake does do producing, but he had a publishing company on the side. But he's known for like Mariah Carey and Celine Dion, like that, real pop stuff, which was pretty good for me. It would have been better if my image had matched the music, I think, a little bit better. I think that would have been easier to take off.
Yeah.
But I was kind of morphing into more of a rock kind of thing. And, music was kind of changing at the time to be more like unplugged-ish.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think all that could have worked out, but, 2008 hit, and that was really, that's where I lost the publishing deal because they went out of business.
Yeah, because, let's see, you moved out in 2010, right?
2010.
Yeah, late 2010. I feel like it was the fall.
Yeah, because I got married in 2011. Yeah, so
yeah.
I moved out.
You got married the day before the marathon, and I was running the marathon.
Yeah, and we came down.
And that's right. And I came up for that's right. That was wild. That was a crazy weekend because I had to go up. I didn't
snowed
have to
like the weekend before.
Yeah, that's right. It was a snowstorm, right? And then I was actually in Aaron's wedding party, so I drove up the night before, 2 nights before for the rehearsal dinner, right? And then the night went up for the wedding, the ceremony, and all that stuff. And then I couldn't stay too long at the reception because I had to come back down and run 26 miles in the morning.
Yeah, super generous of you to make the time to be part of it.
Well, so they just get married and they come down the following day and were cheering me on at the finish line. It was. I'm telling you, man. I've been so blessed to have some good, supportive, and caring people in my life. But you've certainly been there for all of it.
You've been a huge surprise in my life, because when we first met, we didn't at all have a similar worldview, but we found creative commons, and so, we created together, and then when you found the place, that was it right there.
Yeah.
Once we became roommates, it was like, boom, boom, boom.
It worked, too. It was crazy. It was, gosh, so many good times. God, I remember I used to smoke cigarettes, and you didn't. You were like, I don't care if you smoke in the apartment.
Yeah,
and it's weird.
I liked it.
It's weird to think about that now. Like, I can't imagine living in an apartment and smoking a cigarette inside it. Like, how?
I know. It's just barbaric.
Yeah, it's so
dirty.
Oh my gosh!
You remember Cloves?
Wild. Yeah, they stopped making
so
those.
bad for you, but man, we loved Cloves.
Yeah,
and beaties and
God.
Yeah, we did all sorts of horrible things to our bodies.
Yeah. Jesus.
We never really saw hard drugs though.
No,
like we never saw anybody that was doing coke too much. like, I mean, I didn't know anybody that did it at all.
Yeah. Well, you knew one.
But you knew
because I dated the one girl, but we didn't know that she was doing it until
And nobody was doing heroin that we knew of. Nobody was.
I still don't. I mean, I know some homeless guys by name that are heroin guys, but I don't know any. Like, I've been knock on wood. That's not even true, man. My buddy from high school died of heroin overdose. What am I saying?
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, there was the four of us that ran together in high school, and.
But you would expect that kind of stuff to be in the New York crew.
Yeah,
you know, especially artistic types, especially people broke. You know.
Yeah.
But
no, we didn't have any of that. You're right. We didn't have any.
We didn't even have people who smoked that much weed.
No, we didn't even. I mean, who was the biggest stoner we knew? Jeff.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Ahmed, his roommate.
Yeah.
I think that cut into Jeff's productivity.
Yeah.
Like heavily.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, Jeff, he was a monster. So he was another one that inspired me and was in that same clique. He worked with us at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And he was a true artist, him and...
He's got a movie coming out, or had one just come out, right?
Yeah.
He's a director. God, we know a lot of cool people. I'm going to get them all on here eventually. I swear I'm getting everyone from the old models that I know to the... I'm gonna get Lace on here. I swear I'm gonna get all these people on here. It'll be fun. There's so many interesting stories that I didn't until you really think about it. You're like, man, I've been blessed enough to know a lot of people with a lot of really cool stories. Yeah. So it's gonna be fun.
I hadn't thought about a lot of this stuff in a very long time.
Yeah. Well, let's save something for the next time. We're pushing on an hour now, so let's wrap this one up. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's wrap this one up, and we'll do another one here sometime. I literally a couple of years. Let's make this a recurring thing, and we'll kind of pick a thing and let it go in whatever direction it goes every time.
Good.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolute honor.
This is great. So this is the 1218 show. We're gonna wrap this up. This is my guest Aaron Brady today, my very first guest. Don't forget to check it out. I know it's been around for over 15 years now, but they still, especially with the streaming and digital royalties and stuff nowadays, you still make money. So download his stuff. Go to Apple Music or Spotify or whatever platforms there are. Anything? Yeah, those two. Check out the Aaron Brady albums. It's Aaron Brady, just like Tom Brady's last name. And he's got 2 records on there. He's done 3, but 2 of them are on Spotify. And April Hamilton, spelled just like it sounds. And the name of her record is Leap of Faith. And then apparently we're going to put together some more songs and get them out there for the world to hear. We'll get the spring break one out there for you too. So anyway, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate your time. And I look forward to having Aaron on again. And I'll have some more guests for you in the near future. And look forward to another episode next week. So thanks again. Take care of yourself and stay healthy. Bye-bye.